Hello again, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. I need to tear down the lathe setup so that I can run a new project. While I'm over here, I can talk a little bit more about how I made up this steady rest. The steady rest was a exercise in casting and machining and milling and doing all kinds of things. What I did, I needed to make a steady rest so that I could turn shafts like this one. Sometimes you need to be able to drill a hole in the end of a shaft like this. It's too big to go back into the chuck and too long to leave out here without anything to hold it. So steady rest just gives you a bearing surface to grip the part with. The way I made this one, I took a piece of foam and I cut it to fit around this piece of 3-inch pipe, and then I just shaped the outside of it so that it would come down far enough. This South Bend lathe has V-ways, and this one is a flat way, so I have a notch cut into the bottom of the steady rest so it sits onto the back V-way, and then this front part just rests on the flat. To hold it all together and clamp it down to the bed of the lathe, I drilled a hole through the center of the steady rest. Then I drilled and tapped a 5/16 18 hole in this piece of steel stock. It's just a 5/8 diameter steel bar so that I could thread a 5/16 bolt into it. Then this is a specifically modified piece that I made up. For this clamp block to be able to slip underneath the bed, I had to taper it so that it would swing around through there. Otherwise, it was a real struggle trying to get it to go in. So by putting that radius on the opposite corners, that lets me set it in there like that and then swing it around so it slides in underneath the table. On my machine, the bar is about 3 inches overall, 2 3/4. To clamp this ring onto the steady rest body, I drilled and tapped a 5/16 18 hole in the aluminum, then just ran a stud down in there, and I'm using a nut and a washer to lock the ring onto the block. By shaping this out of foam, I was able to do a lost foam casting process and pour this aluminum block. I used the steel ring in the mold to act as a chill so that it would form this radius. Worked pretty well. For the centering pins, I just used 3/8/16 bolts, drilled and tapped the ring for 3/8/16. When I want to use the steady rest, I tighten up this bottom bolt using a socket and a ratchet, reaching up through the bottom. That clamps it down to the bed. Then I just run the bolts up till they touch. And then I can back off the support and the part will spin on that steady rest. Now, for anything that's polished, I'll take a piece of, this is a piece of leather belting, and wrap it around the part so that the screws come up and rub on the, press on the leather, and I can oil up the leather, and that provides a bearing surface so I don't scratch or scour away the surface of the shaft that I'm turning. Nothing real fancy, but it works. I just had a need for a steady rest one day and made that up.